Hello, welcome back to another video. This time around I'm going to be showing you my KDE setup here. It's kind of basic, it's nothing super fancy. I have a plugin for Wallpaper Engine so that it runs on Linux. It's very nice, it only works with KDE currently. I seem to have found myself using KDE instead of GNOME. I was using GNOME before, but GNOME on Wayland was it's developed, but I hear that KDE on Wayland is more developed. It's better for gaming, and I definitely noticed a latency difference when I was playing NBA 2K22. Posted a video on that. Very short, not a great showcase. I had about 4 to 6 gigabytes of RAM usage as well on GNOME. Here with ZanMod kernel using KDE, I have between 2 to 5 gigabytes of RAM usage. And I will talk a little bit about my system here. I use Arch. I do have a Windows installation though, so I play multiplayer games with my friends that aren't possible to play on Linux. Swapped to Linux probably a year and a half ago, maybe two at this point. I'm not really sure because I was kind of fed up with Windows 11 and AMD drivers. I had a lot of hardware issues. My Red Devil 5700 XT came with mismatching RAM. So I had to edit the BIOS, which was quite frustrating, but I was able to solve that issue. Unfortunately, the fan curves that I had in Windows just always caused games to crash, and then VSync. I have a 100 hertz monitor, as we'll show here. I would have to limit games to between 40 to 70 FPS sometimes, just because I couldn't reach this full 100 hertz with the 1440p ultra wide monitor that I have. And it would cause my graphics card to push itself to the limit and crash, right? It would go beyond the device's specs for heat. So I just had so many issues. I ended up swapping to Linux. Started my journey with Pop! OS, which wasn't a pleasant experience for me at the time. It was very underdeveloped, fresh, brand new, basically. Was the next biggest thing, apparently, based on Ubuntu, made for gaming. I didn't like it. I didn't understand Lutris at the time. I didn't understand any of it, and it didn't have scaling either at the time, proper scaling support for my monitor. And I have impaired vision, so I need decent scaling so I can read things. So I ended up quitting Linux and reinstalling Windows for another month or two, but I had a manic episode and I used it to install Fedora next, of all things. I love Fedora. Fedora is great. So I used that for a while, but I felt like Fedora was very limited in the amount of things I could install. Fedora does have the most packages out of any system using DNF, but it's not the packages that I need. I needed help installing and building things at the time. I didn't understand how to do that. So eventually I swapped back to Ubuntu. Just default Ubuntu. I thought, yeah, this is going to work out for me, but it just felt like a Windows type experience, and my drivers were a little bit older now because Fedora had some more rolling drivers than Ubuntu did at the time, and I felt the frames drop in my games, felt the latency. It felt like, what am I doing? And then eventually I made my way to Arch. I tried building Arch. I apologize, I'm still sick. My throat just has not recovered. Uh, but yeah, I made my way to Arch Linux. So I built Arch from scratch. I installed the KDE package. I got everything set up, and I'm like, wow, I have no clue what I'm doing. I didn't know how to install anything from the OR. I didn't know how to install things with Yay, Pac-Man, etc. I was so lost. So this was before Endeavor OS came out. Garuda existed. So I tried Garuda Linux and I used that for, gosh, probably 6, 7 months, maybe 8 months. Ubuntu I used for a good 3 or 4 months. I had Bougie Ubuntu actually. Bougie is a great desktop environment, by the way. So shout out to Bougie. Uh, but ultimately, like I said, I ended up swapping to Garuda Linux. Now I used that for about 6 months. Everything was good. I had no reason to swap from it. I didn't really mess with anything. It was basically the default Dragonized version. Eventually, though, it got a little stale. I wanted more performance. I was having issues with my OBS recordings. I didn't know what was going on really. And then Nobara Linux came out. I was like, oh my gosh, Nobara Linux. This is it. I love Fedora, so I got into Nobara Linux. I was able to learn how to build packages, and that's where a lot of my videos originated, was with Nobara Linux. When I started my Let's Play series with Pokemon and all that, it's a very stable system, but it's only developed by one person, and it's based on Fedora, which you have to build everything for. Like things that are not in the DNF system, you either have to build for, you have to do workarounds because some things aren't made for Fedora. A lot of things aren't made for Fedora. You'll have to use this DNF package repo that's it's basically like the OR for custom DNF packages. I don't know, it was like a Yum or something. I can't remember. Or YAR. It's a very weird package command. I can't remember it, but people build their own packages on there and put them up for you to use. And at the time, my VPN wasn't supported by Fedora, so I had to find a custom package. And there's a lot that goes into it. It doesn't feel very intuitive. And it also wasn't on the bleeding edge of technology. I kind of want to be on the bleeding edge. I think one of the biggest reasons I dipped from Garuda was because there was a grub issue, and it took me so long to figure out how to fix that grub issue. And that was on every Arch system. So eventually I made my way back here to Garuda after Nobara Linux had a couple of issues that I didn't enjoy finding solutions for, because it's just like I don't want to have to find a solution for everything. But yeah, here it is. It's got my hidden files showing right now. I did try Endeavor OS. I don't know. I was having issues with the installer for it. I solved those issues, but I didn't like the way that I had to install them. Or not install. I mean, I did fix those issues that I was having with the installer, but I didn't really foresee any positive things coming out of that. Because it was having a lot of issues with how many drives and how much storage I have. So I figured, why not go back to Garuda? And here I am. I installed the XFCE version of Garuda initially, but I manually was able to download all of the configuration files for KDE and move my way over to KDE with Wayland. So we'll do a fast fetch here. Garuda has fast fetch installed by default. And if it doesn't, you can find it in the repository using something like Octopi here. I recommend Octopi over Manjaro KDE's installer. This one is really it's way more robust feeling. If you've never used Octopi before, you pretty much just search for what you're looking for. Like, oh man, Garuda. Let's put in a keyword, Garuda. Okay, so here we have the Garuda fish config, which I have. We have the Garuda Starship prompt, which this is fish with Starship on top of it, I believe. And this is kind of the default Garuda version of it. I didn't feel like messing with it myself. I like the theme. It looks nice. Looks good in console. Does everything I need it to do, except filling stuff out. It's not filling stuff out like it's supposed to. I haven't figured out what's going on with that. There's supposed to be an autofill, so if I type in Garuda dash update, oh look, I should say Garuda update, like in gray text, but it doesn't. It's not autofilling. So yeah, that I need to figure out, but I just set this up probably a week ago. So this is really all the stuff I have that's Garuda related, because I like how Garuda's updater works. I like the Garuda packages that they ship out. Um, the rest of it though, I don't really need the Garuda icons or anything like that, but I have it. It's bloat, I know, but everything else I've pretty much added myself through Octopi, and these are dependencies and stuff that you get for downloading things like OBS or KDE. Um, Speaking of OBS, if you ever run Arch Linux or Garuda, if you want your graphics card to have, support for say AMD, right? You're gonna want to download vCapture Git, VA API, Studio Browser, and FFmpeg OBS. These are the best packages in my experience for OBS when you're using a graphics card and not a capture card. I don't know anything about capture cards yet. Need to buy one still. But yeah, my Linux journey led me all the way back to Garuda. I used it for a little while with GNOME. It's fine. Yeah, GNOME's cool. I like GNOME. Ultimately, GNOME with Wayland felt a little bit less stable than KDE with Wayland. It had more latency than KDE with Wayland, so I swapped over to KDE with Wayland. There were a couple of hurdles I had to jump through. I'll tell you about them. If you use X11, not if you use X, I'm sorry. If you download KDE, you need to open it with the KDE X11 package first. Then log out and open the Wayland package for KDE. That is the only way that I was able to get KDE Wayland to work. If you directly go from GNOME using their login manager to KDE Wayland, you'll get a black screen. And your login manager won't work. Your screen manager won't work. Your display manager, all that stuff. It will not work, even if you type in all the commands to activate it. So I just wanted to throw that out there for anyone who likes to swap desktop environments. You don't have to reinstall your distro. You just have to kind of work through some stuff. This was originally an XFCE system, but I have a tablet, and I didn't feel like setting it up. So, it's just... You can just go to input devices, and they got touchpad, drawing tab. They have all this stuff here in KDE. It's really nice. It's also nice in GNOME. But the latency for KDE is much less than GNOME, and GNOME also seems to have used more RAM at the time of my recording. It used 8 gigabytes, I think. It was insane. But here I only used 2 to 5 gigabytes with ZanMod. And ZanMod is great. I was looking at a bunch of different kernels. I have a few of them here. I'll go to my boot options so you can see them. This is a little application Garuda has, lets you mess with your boot options, so you don't have to go and do it yourself. So we have the default kernel, which I think is like 6.2 or something now, as of recording. I downloaded Zen for testing, ZanMod for testing, and then I have Windows 10, not 11. That's why I swapped, because Windows 11 it was absolutely horrible for me. So I have 10 for all of my gaming needs related to Windows, like Call of Duty, Fortnite, things like that don't work on Linux quite just yet. And I'll say for people who love GNOME has a great workflow. KDE actually has some hotkeys related to that workflow. If you do the Windows key plus W, it brings up a very similar system. So I'll make a couple of windows here. And you do that. See, it has the same system as GNOME, and I love this. I love this blow up here. You can do this with any full screen application. Make a new desktop, drag stuff over to it. Boom. A little bit finicky, the second desktop. See, it shows there's 2 desktops here. I don't like that. I might get rid of that, but it's an easy way to swap between them. Look how smooth that transition is too, though. Wayland is a fantastic, I don't know if it's not the display manager, but it's a fantastic screen renderer, I think. X11 isn't supported anymore. It's got a lot of screen tearing. You have to turn off compositors by default. This is just a great alternative. Wayland is the future of Linux, I'm telling you. So we'll go back to desktop one. Let's look at some stuff here. I've got a 1440p monitor with 100 hertz refresh rate. The 5700 XT. I know that's terrible. I'm pushing it, right? Appearance, no global theme here. I'm using Oxygen because I love 3D tabs. I love stuff that looks like Microsoft Zune. Plasma style. We're using Underworld because we got those sick 3D borders, right? And the colors, I'm actually using Darkwood because it's got this beautiful brown groove box like look to it. Just Oxygen for this. Default fonts and icons, etc. Oh no, the icons aren't default. Icons are actually Groovebox Plus. And I like it. I love it. It works with your how do you change this? The colors here. It actually works with accent colors from current wallpaper. So whenever I change my wallpaper, my accent colors will stay. You know, they'll move over with it, that is to say. Let's change it here. Let's see. This is a plugin that allows you to use Wallpaper Engine with your what do you call it? With Linux, right? It's not actually possible normally. So it's pretty cool. So let's say we do that. Configure your display setting. No, my bad. I'm sorry. All the way at the top. Appearance. It should change based on my current wallpaper. The icons might not change based on the current wallpaper. I could be wrong about that. I thought they did. Maybe I just found some icons that worked with it. There is an icon pack that changes with your wallpaper and theme. I don't remember what it's called. I used to have it. It's like Chameleon or something like that. It's really nice. But this is also really nice. And we just configure desktop and wallpaper again, choose something else. You know, maybe we like Rayquaza. Now this one I think is a bit. How do you explain this? You need to close your system settings. Then you have to reopen them because it's a certain file type. So I'll go here. It's gonna refresh the entire desktop. The desktop is like it's dead right now. Okay, so it's not working, and there's a reason for it. It's because it's kind of crashed, kind of not. I need to close the wallpaper thing, and then right-click, configure desktop wallpaper. It'll crash, reopen, and it works. The animation will take a second though. There you go. Now, why is it doing that? That's the question. The plugin does not officially support scenes, I think. I think this is a scene. So they've been updating it. You know, people add updates to this all the time, and I think that scenes work, but they're very glitchy in how they work. So you have to do some weird stuff with it. If you ever do download this plugin, it's very easy to find. Just like KDE Plasma Wallpaper Engine plugin. It's probably the first thing that pops up in Google. Keep all of this default, right? You can change the speed if you want, like playback speed, but do not change the FPS to like 30, 60, whatever. If you do, hold on, I'll show you actually. Let's see, apply. So let's say we want 60 FPS. Open Firefox. And we'll go to YouTube. There should be some glitching here at the top left where it bleeds through. Sometimes I guess it works. Let me go to configure desktop wallpaper again. Well, with my one scene that I had, the lady with the water here, ocean floor. I love this scene. It's very nice. It's glitchy. It was like teleporting through the corner here. I don't know. When I had it at 60 FPS. So I wouldn't personally recommend it. And it's working now. It's very interesting. Not sure why it wasn't working before. Whatever. Either way, that's my desktop environment. I'll see you guys in the next video, which is going to be Breath of Fire probably. I need to beat Sonic at some point. Beaten that game like 20 times in my life. I don't know. I don't know if I feel like going through the Big the Cat stuff. We'll see. And OBS doesn't have hotkeys. You can use a hotkey while you have OBS open, but it doesn't work in the background. So like I'm pressing the hotkey to stop recording. I'm gonna go in here. I mean, heck, it's not even working here. So it's kind of finicky. I'll throw that out there.